Hey everyone, Dan here. Before we get into it, if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button. And keep in mind that these are my own thoughts, opinions, and ideas. These are not meant to be, nor should you take them as investment or trading advice in any way, shape, or form. Do your own due diligence, put in the work for yourself, and make your decisions based on that. Enjoy. All right, folks, here we are on Thursday, February 15th. We're going to take a look at Coinbase today. So with earnings coming up, I thought we would come and take a look and see where it might hit some support or resistance. If it does fly or die based on the earnings call, just keep in mind that while we're going to talk about moves in both directions that could be pretty strong, it could go relatively sideways. We've seen a ton of really big reactions to a lot of different stocks recently. And it's a little bit of a mixed bag with coin. You see earnings here, you see earnings here, right? So some big reactions, some smaller reactions, but we'll see what we get this time around. In any case, the nearest in support level that I have, 159.62. So if it does start to dip, that's a level that could provide some initial support. If it has a huge, strong reaction, it may blow right through it. Same thing with the first upside level. 174.80, if it does start to push, that's the first resistance level I have. Similar thing, it could blow right through it. But in the course of the after hours or even in the coming days, it may come back to retest any of these things that it blows through. So just keep in mind that they could still come into play in the relatively near future, even if they sort of get leapfrogged based on the earnings call. Now, if it does continue to push 186.97 and then 203.27, I did this a while ago, so okay, I couldn't remember if I had put any additional up here. These are old levels, but oftentimes old levels are good levels if it gets into that range again. So if it does really push 229.34, 239.79, 254.60, and 266.52. Those all obviously to the upside. Now if it dips, we talked about that 159.62, but then 146.94, 136.68, 127.63, 118.30, 109.64, and then I just had a marker down here because it stands out and it's so obvious, this 85.08. Obviously that's like cutting the price in half. So that would be quite significant of a move. Now, speaking of significant moves, keep in mind that back here toward the beginning of last year, so January of 2023, this was sitting at 31.55 and it's made this jump up to 187.39 before it recently dipped. And so my question is always, to what degree does the market react based off of a mix of the earnings, like the actual content of the earnings, and how much they feel may be priced in or not? So I'm always sort of curious to see stocks that have had big moves, even if it's been over the course of a year, like this one. It's such a big move, 31 to 187. My question being, if it's an on par call or even a decently good call, right? Not a blow it out of the water call, but a decently good call. How much does the market feel is already priced in, and what's the sentiment like based off of that? And we have certainly seen in the past stocks sell off to some degree, even on what was seen as an on par or even decent earnings call, and it can often catch folks quite by surprise, but sometimes it's just a factor of this, pricing in mechanism that we're talking about. Now, on the think or swim side of things, we see back here, it did a really good job calling out this huge move. So it was pinned to the mid-range of the channel, the price was. While that was happening, started to trigger on the TTM squeeze indicator. That's a prime setup. That's really, really what you want to see. It's always sort of my favorite as it pertains to this particular study. And it pushed it right up out of the channel and spent quite a long time up out of the channel. Finally, when it did pull back, came down to test the mid-range of the channel and then actually was able to slip it and then started testing the lower bound of the channel. Now it's overtaken the upper bound of the channel again and is once again up out of the channel as we get into earnings. And I did also pull in these ATR levels so we can take a look at those. We do see a very brief trigger and fire here in recent days, so we'll see what that brings. It was triggering when it was about at the mid-range of the channel, so interesting sort of situation there heading into earnings. Now this ATR level here, 172.36, so we'll see if it's able to sort of get past that. If it does, these ATR levels that come into play next month span from about 177.11 to this level here is at about 194-ish, and then this one up here is about 210 to 11, I guess. Now if it does dip, obviously you have these levels as support. This is about 155 or so, and then 138.62, and then 128.64, 117.78 right here, 101-ish, and then 84.04 are the ATR levels to the up and the downside. So, to me, mostly interested in sort of two things. One, that it's up out of the channel currently heading into earnings and is also at the top of the current swing trade type ATR. So we'll see if that factors in or not. Obviously, a big catalyst like earnings can throw any of these things kind of askew, and can sort of reset a bunch of charts and studies and things like that. All right, folks, I hope that your trading week has been going well. And as always, I appreciate you watching, and I will see you in the next video.